Catherine Kate Monroe gazed out the viewport of her small transport ship, the Star Wanderer. The vastness of space stretched before her, stars twinkling against the black void. She sipped her coffee slowly, enjoying these peaceful moments before arriving at her destination in the Orion sector. Kate was 32 years old with dark auburn hair cut in a practical shoulder-length style. Her green eyes held a sharpness and intelligence that made most people think twice before crossing her. To any observer, she appeared to be a simple human traveler, or perhaps a merchant. Her plain gray jumpsuit bore no insignia, and her manner was casual and unremarkable. The ship's computer chimed softly. "Approaching Galactic Council territory, Ms. Monroe," the AI announced. "Estimated arrival at Nexus Prime Station in approximately 3 hours." Kate nodded. "Thank you, Ellie." She finished her coffee and placed the cup in the small recycler beside her chair. This unofficial journey had been long planned, and she was curious about what she would discover. Humanity had been observing the Galactic Council for decades, but direct interaction had been limited and carefully managed. The Star Wanderer's sensors pinged suddenly. Kate frowned and checked the readout. 3 vessels had appeared on an intercept course. "Unidentified human vessel," a stern voice crackled over the communication system. "This is Galactic Council Security Patrol Gamma 6. You have entered a restricted sector. Power down your engines and prepare to be boarded." Kate raised an eyebrow but remained calm. "This is Catherine Monroe aboard the Star Wanderer. I was unaware this was a restricted area. My navigation charts show this as an open trade route." There was a brief pause before the voice responded. "Your charts are outdated. This sector has been restricted for the past 6 standard months. Power down immediately." Kate knew this was false. She had the latest navigation data, and this sector was still listed as open for transit. But arguing would serve no purpose now. She had her own reasons for allowing this to play out. "Very well," she replied, powering down engines and opening docking port. She quickly activated a small device on her wrist. To any scan it would appear to be a simple timepiece, but in reality, it sent an encrypted burst transmission through subspace. The message was brief. Her coordinates and a single code word. The patrol ship surrounded the Star Wanderer, their imposing hulls dwarfing her small vessel. A docking tube extended from the largest ship and connected with a soft thud. Kate stood, waiting by the airlock, hands visible and expression neutral. The door hissed open. 6 armed guards entered, their scaled skin gleaming under the lights. They were Valkyrians, a reptilian species known for their strict adherence to council rules. Behind them strode a tall, slender Valkyrian wearing the insignia of an ambassador. "I am Ambassador Zextil," he announced coldly. "You will identify yourself and state your purpose in this sector." Kate bowed slightly, a perfectly appropriate gesture according to Valkyrian custom. "I am Catherine Monroe, a human observer interested in cultural exchange. As I stated earlier, my charts show this as an open route." Zextil's tongue flicked out, tasting the air. "Humans, always where they are not wanted." He turned to his guards. "Search the vessel." The guards moved through the small ship, scanning every compartment and storage area. Kate remained still, watching them with mild interest. She had nothing to hide, at least nothing they would be able to find. A small blue-skinned aide approached Zextil and whispered something. The ambassador's eyes narrowed. "Your vessel contains advanced scanning technology. Technology that exceeds standard civilian parameters." He leaned closer to Kate. "Are you a spy human?" Kate smiled slightly. "I am merely a traveler with good equipment. There are no laws against that, according to Article 17 of the Free Transit Agreement." Zextil's eyes widened slightly at her knowledge of council law. "You will come with us to Nexus Prime for further questioning. Your vessel will be impounded." "On what charges?" Kate asked calmly. "Suspicious activity in a sensitive zone. Possible espionage." Zextil motioned to the guards. "Secure her." 2 guards approached with restraints. Kate considered her options. She could resist and would likely succeed, but that would defeat the purpose of her mission. Instead, She held out her wrists and allowed them to place the restraints on her. "This is unnecessary," she said. "I would come willingly." "Humans cannot be trusted," Zextil replied. "You are a young, impulsive species who gained spacefaring technology far too quickly." Kate said nothing as they led her from her ship to the patrol vessel. She memorized every turn, every corridor, noting the ship's layout and security measures. The patrol ship undocked and set course for Nexus Prime, the massive orbital station that served as the Galactic Council's headquarters in this sector. The journey took less than an hour. Through a small viewport, Kate caught her first glimpse of Nexus Prime, a sprawling structure resembling a metallic snowflake, its arms extending outward from a central hub. Lights sparkled across its surface, and hundreds of ships moved around it like insects around a hive. They docked at a secure port away from the main traffic areas. Kate was escorted through service corridors away from public areas until they reached a detention level. The walls here were a dull gray, and the lighting was harsher. Mira Loon, the blue-skinned aide to Zextil, processed Kate's detention. Species human. Name, Catherine Monroe. Her six-fingered hands moved quickly over the control panel. Place of origin? Earth, Kate replied simply. Purpose in council space? Observation and cultural exchange. Mira Loon looked skeptical. Surrender all personal items. Kate handed over her few possessions, a small bag containing basic toiletries, a datapad with publicly available books, and her wrist device. The aide examined the device carefully. "This is more than a timepiece," she noted. "It monitors my vital signs," Kate explained. This was true, though not its only function. After scanning for hidden weapons or devices and finding none, they led Kate to a cell. It was small but clean, with a simple bed, washing facilities, and a desk. "You will be questioned tomorrow," Zextil informed her. "I suggest you consider carefully what information you're willing to share. The Council does not look kindly on human spies." The door closed behind him with a soft hiss. Kate sat on the edge of the bed and looked around her cell. She appeared calm, but her mind was working quickly, analyzing everything she had seen and heard since being intercepted. A small smile touched her lips as she lay back on the hard bed. By now her message would have been received. The Council had no idea what they had just set in motion, or who they had just detained. Kate closed her eyes, appearing to rest, but in reality she was preparing. The real work would begin with tomorrow's interrogation. Far away, at the edge of the system, space rippled as a small reconnaissance probe emerged from faster-than-light travel. It hung silently in the void, sensors gathering data on Nexus Prime. After a few minutes, it vanished back into FTL, carrying its information to waiting hands. Kate woke early the next morning, though morning was merely a concept on the space station. She had slept well despite the hard bed. Years of training had taught her to rest whenever possible. She sat up and looked around her cell, noting the small camera in the corner watching her every move. The door slid open and two guards entered. One placed a tray of food on the small desk while the other stood alert, hand resting on his weapon. The food looked bland, some kind of protein cube, a portion of synthetic vegetables, and a cup of water. "Eat," the guard said. "You will be questioned in 1 hour." Kate nodded and began to eat without complaint. The food tasted as bland as it looked, but she ate everything. She would need her strength. After she finished, the guards returned and escorted her through a series of corridors. Other aliens they passed stared at her with curiosity or disdain. Humans were rare in this part of space, and most Council species viewed them as primitive newcomers. They arrived at a plain door marked with symbols Kate recognized as the Council's Security Division insignia. Inside was a simple room with a table and 3 chairs. The walls were a neutral gray designed to be calming or boring enough to wear down resistance during long interrogations. "Wait here," one guard said, and they left her alone. Kate sat quietly, her posture relaxed but alert. She counted silently, tracking the time. Exactly 17 minutes later, the door opened again. A tall, thin alien entered. His skin was pale, blue with faint patterns that shifted like clouds. 4 black eyes blinked at different intervals, studying her with clear intelligence. He wore a simple uniform with small markings indicating high rank. "I am Intelligence Officer Dravnak," he said in perfect English. His voice had an odd musical quality to it. "I will be conducting your interview." Kate nodded politely. "Catherine Monroe, though you already know that." Dravnak sat across from her and placed a small device on the table. It hummed softly, projecting a holographic display between them. "This will record our conversation," he explained. "Now, Ms. Monroe, please explain your presence in a restricted section of council space." "As I told Ambassador Zextil, my navigation charts show that sector as an open trade route," Kate replied calmly. "If there was a change, the update was not properly distributed through the usual channels." Dravnak's eyes blinked in sequence. "Your vessel's technology exceeds standard civilian parameters by approximately 47%. There's no law against having good equipment," Kate said. "Article 17 of the Free Transit Agreement allows for personal security and navigation systems that do not include offensive capabilities." Dravnak paused, studying her carefully. "You are well versed in council law for a simple traveler." Kate smiled slightly. "I find legal systems fascinating. Each species has their own approach to order and justice." "Indeed." Dravnak touched the device, and the holographic display changed to show a map of her ship. "Your vessel contains several compartments with shielding that prevented our scans from penetrating. Can you explain this?" "Privacy shielding is allowed under Article 23, subsection 7, Kate replied without hesitation. "Those compartments contained my personal items and logs." "You seem to have an answer for everything," Dravnak noted. "It makes me wonder what you're hiding." Kate leaned forward slightly. "Perhaps the question should be why the Council is so interested in a lone human traveler. I've broken no laws." Dravnak's skin patterns shifted faster. "Humans have been expanding their territory rapidly. The Council has concerns about your species' intentions. Expansion into unclaimed space is not against Council law," Kate pointed out. "It is when that expansion approaches sensitive Council interests." Their conversation was interrupted by a soft chime. Another Council alien entered, this one with scaled skin and a crest of feathers. A Ravitor, a species known for their work in communications. The Ravitor whispered something to Dravnak, whose 4 eyes widened slightly. He turned back to Kate. "Excuse me for a moment," he said, rising from his chair. When they were gone, Kate remained still, but her mind was active. The interruption was unexpected. Perhaps her message had been received sooner than anticipated. Several minutes passed before Dravnak returned. His skin patterns were now moving rapidly, indicating stress or concern. "We will continue this later," he said. "You will be returned to your cell for now." Kate was escorted back to her cell by 4 guards instead of the previous 2. Something had changed. The station seemed more active, with personnel moving with greater purpose through the corridors. Back in her cell, Kate sat on the bed and waited. Less than an hour later, the door opened again. This time, both Dravnak and Ambassador Zextil entered. "Our medical team has analyzed your biometric data," Zextil said without greeting. "It shows several anomalies not consistent with standard human physiology." Kate said nothing, waiting for the question. "Your cellular structure shows signs of advanced medical treatments," Dravnak continued. "And we detected several microscopic implants throughout your nervous system, technology far beyond what humans are known to possess." "You've been very thorough," Kate observed. Zextil stepped closer. "Who are you really human? No ordinary citizen has access to such technology." Before Kate could answer, an alarm began to sound throughout the station. A voice spoke over the communication system in the Council's common language, but Kate understood perfectly. "Attention all personnel. Unknown vessels have entered the system. Defense protocols are now active." Zextil's assistant Miraloon rushed into the cell, her blue skin now pale with stress. "Ambassador, 5 ships have appeared at the edge of the system. They're not responding to identification requests. Pirates? Zextil asked. No, Miraloon replied. Their design is unusual, similar to human vessels but much larger and with significantly advanced energy signatures. All eyes turned to Kate, who remained calm. She stood slowly. I believe, she said quietly, that you should check for incoming communications. They won't be pirates. Dravnak studied her with all four eyes. You knew they were coming. Kate met his gaze steadily. I did. Another alarm sounded, and Miraloon's communication device beeped urgently. She checked it, and her eyes widened. We're receiving a system-wide transmission on all channels, she reported. It's in multiple languages, including ours. What does it say? Zextil demanded. Miraloon looked up, her expression one of disbelief. It requests immediate audience with the Council regarding, and I quote, diplomatic immunity violations of the highest order. It's signed Admiral Laura Hayes, 1st Fleet, United Human Systems, Imperial Navy. The room fell silent. Kate smoothed down her simple jumpsuit and spoke into the stunned silence. Ambassador Zextil, Intelligence Officer, Dravnak, I believe we should continue our conversation in a more appropriate setting, perhaps one where I'm not treated as a prisoner. Who are you? Dravnak asked quietly. Kate smiled slightly. I think it's time we had that discussion properly. I suggest you contact the Council leadership immediately. They'll want to be present for what comes next. Outside the station, more ships were dropping out of faster-than-light travel, taking up positions around Nexus Prime. The Council had made a grave error, and they were about to learn exactly who they had detained. The Council chamber was large and circular, with tiered seating surrounding a central speaking platform. Representatives from 26 species filled the room, their voices creating a nervous hum of conversation. Emergency meetings like this were rare. Kate stood on the speaker's platform, no longer wearing restraints. She had been given fresh clothes, still simple, but clean and properly fitted. Ambassador Zextil and Intelligence Officer Dravnak stood to one side, watching her carefully. The head counselor, an ancient Vadian named Sermiel, whose skin resembled polished stone, raised his hands for silence. The chamber grew quiet. Face an unusual situation, Sermiel announced, his voice amplified throughout the room. Human vessels have taken positions around Nexus Prime, demanding the release of this woman. He gestured toward Kate. They claim she has diplomatic immunity. Murmurs spread through the chamber. Before we communicate further with these ships, we will hear from the human herself. Sermiel turned to Kate. You have the floor. Explain yourself. Kate stepped forward, her posture straight and confident. The nervous whispers faded as everyone leaned forward to listen. Thank you, head counselor, she began, her voice clear and strong. My name is Catherine Elizabeth Monroe, daughter of Emperor William Monroe, ruler of the United Human Systems. The chamber erupted in shocked exclamations. Sermiel had to bang his gavel several times to restore order. That's impossible, a Thoraxian representative shouted. Humans have no emperor. They are a fragmented species with competing nations. Kate smiled slightly. That is what we wanted you to believe. The truth is more complex. Humanity unified under the Monroe dynasty over a century ago, but we chose to present ourselves as divided when we made first contact with the Council. Why? Dravnak asked, his four eyes fixed on her. History, Kate replied simply. We studied your records. Species that appear suddenly with unified governments and advanced technology are often seen as threats. We wish to avoid unnecessary conflict. The Council members exchanged troubled glances. Those ships outside, Zextil said, they are not typical human vessels. No, Kate agreed. Those are Imperial naval vessels. What you've seen until now were our civilian and frontier ships. We've kept our true capabilities private. A screen activated on one wall of the chamber, showing the ships surrounding the station. They were sleek and powerful, their hulls gleaming with a strange, shifting metal that seemed to absorb light rather than reflect it. Energy readings displayed alongside the images showed power levels far beyond standard council vessels. "Why are you here?" Sir Miel asked. "Why would the daughter of an emperor travel alone in our space?" Kate clasped her hands behind her back. "I came as an unofficial envoy to observe the council directly. Our intelligence suggested you might be ready for more formal relations with humanity, the real humanity, not the facade we've presented." "I wanted to see for myself." "And your assessment?" Dravnak asked quietly. Before Kate could answer, the chamber doors opened. A human woman entered, flanked by 4 tall guards in dark uniforms. The woman appeared to be in her late 40s, with silver-streaked brown hair pulled back in a severe bun. Her uniform was deep blue with gold trim, and numerous medals adorned her chest. "Admiral Laura Hayes," Kate said, smiling genuinely for the first time. "Right on schedule. Princess Catherine," Admiral Hayes replied with a slight bow. "You appear unharmed. The Emperor will be relieved." Several council members gasped at the use of the title Princess. Admiral Hayes turned to address the council. "I am Admiral Laura Hayes, First Fleet Commander and sister to Emperor William Monroe. I am here to secure the release of Princess Catherine and address this violation of diplomatic protocol." There was no diplomatic notification of her visit. Zextil protested. "Intentionally," Kate said. "This was an assessment mission. I needed to see how the council operates naturally, not how it presents itself to official visitors." Admiral Hayes stepped forward. "The detention of a member of the imperial family is a serious offense. However, the Emperor is willing to overlook this mistake in the interest of establishing better relations." Sir Miel looked troubled. "Admiral, we had no knowledge of the princess's identity." "Perhaps not," Hayes said. "But you detained a human traveler without proper cause and denied her legal rights under your own charter. This concerns us regardless of her status." Kate moved to stand beside her aunt. "The real issue, Counselor, Sir Miel, is that you still view humans as inferior despite our demonstrated achievements. This attitude influences your policies and actions." The chamber fell silent as the council members absorbed this uncomfortable truth. Dravnak stepped forward unexpectedly. "She is correct. We have been dismissive of humans since first contact. Our prejudice may have blinded us." "Intelligence officer. Dravnak showed me more respect than most," Kate noted. "He asked questions rather than making assumptions." A new alert sounded. Another screen activated, showing a massive vessel emerging from faster-than-light travel at the edge of the system. It dwarfed even the impressive ships already present. "The Imperial flagship Solaris," Admiral Hayes announced, "carrying our diplomatic delegation." Kate turned to the stunned council. "It appears my father has decided to accelerate our timeline. The Emperor rarely leaves Earth, but he makes exceptions for family." "How?" a council member stammered. "How could humans build such ships without our knowledge? Our surveillance networks would have detected such construction." Kate smiled. "Your surveillance extends only to what we allowed you to see. The truth is, humanity's territory is much larger than you believe. We control not just Earth and a handful of colonies, but hundreds of worlds across 3 spiral arms." The council chamber erupted again in shocked voices. Sir Miel banged his gavel repeatedly. "Order! Order!" When quiet finally returned, he addressed Kate directly. "Princess Catherine, if what you say is true, why has humanity hidden its true nature from the galactic community?" "Protection," Kate replied. "Both yours and ours. There are threats in this galaxy that even the Council doesn't fully comprehend. We've been standing guard while developing our civilization." Admiral Hayes checked a device on her wrist. "The Emperor's shuttle will dock in 30 minutes. I suggest we prepare a proper reception." Sir Miel nodded slowly, the reality of the situation sinking in. Yes, of course, we will adjourn this session and reconvene in the grand reception hall." As the council members filed out, many casting worried glances at Kate and Hayes, Dravnak approached them. "Princess," he said quietly, "you mentioned threats the council doesn't comprehend. What threats?" Kate regarded him thoughtfully. "That, intelligence officer, is a conversation for another day. But if things go well, you may be among the first to know. Outside the station, the massive Imperial flagship moved into position, its presence a clear statement to all who witnessed it. Humanity was not what they had seemed, and the galaxy would never be the same again. The grand reception hall of Nexus Prime was a marvel of alien architecture. Its ceiling arched high overhead, made of transparent material that showed the stars and the massive human ships beyond. Crystal chandeliers floated without visible support, casting soft light across the gathered crowd. Council members and their aides stood in groups speaking in hushed tones. Many kept glancing toward the main entrance where Emperor William Monroe would soon arrive. Station security personnel lined the walls, trying to look calm despite the tension filling the room. Kate stood with Admiral Hayes near the center of the hall. She now wore a deep blue uniform similar to her aunt's but with different insignia, marking her as royalty rather than military. Several council members had approached to introduce themselves, suddenly eager to establish friendly relations with a human princess. Quite a change from the detention cell, Kate remarked quietly to Hayes. The Admiral smiled thinly. Amazing how quickly attitudes adjust when power balances shift. Dravnak approached them, his 4 eyes blinking in sequence. Princess Catherine, Admiral Hayes. The Emperor's shuttle has docked. He will arrive momentarily. Thank you, Intelligence. Officer, Kate said. I hope you'll stay close during the reception. My father will want to meet the one person who showed me respect during my detention. Before Dravnak could respond, a tone sounded throughout the hall. Everyone fell silent and turned toward the main doors as they slowly opened. 4 guards entered. First, they wore black uniforms with silver trim and carried advanced energy weapons that made the Council Security Force's equipment look primitive by comparison. The guards took positions on either side of the doorway. Emperor William Monroe entered the hall. He was tall and broad-shouldered, with the same auburn hair as Kate, though his was streaked with gray at the temples. His face showed the same sharp intelligence as his daughter's, with deep green eyes that seemed to take in everything at once. He wore a dark uniform with minimal decoration, just a single silver pin on his collar showing the emblem of the United Human Systems. Behind the UDCI Emperor came 12 more guards and several aides carrying data tablets. The entire human group moved with military precision. Head Counselor Sermil stepped forward. Emperor Monroe, on behalf of the Galactic Council, I welcome you to Nexus Prime. The Emperor nodded. Thank you, Counselor Sermil. His voice was deep and carried easily across the hall. Though I must say the circumstances of our meeting are not what I would have preferred. He looked around the hall, his gaze passing over each council member before settling on his daughter. His expression softened slightly. Catherine, he said, extending his hand. Kate walked to her father and took his hand. Father, thank you for coming so quickly. When my daughter is detained without cause, I make time, the Emperor replied, loud, enough for everyone to hear. He turned back to Sermil. I believe we have much to discuss, Counselor. Sermil nodded nervously. Indeed. We have prepared the High Council chamber for our meeting. Good. But first, the Emperor turned to Kate. I would like to hear directly from my daughter about her treatment here. Kate nodded. I was treated as any suspected spy would be, Father. No better, no worse. Intelligence Officer Dravnak conducted my questioning fairly. She gestured to Dravnak, who stepped forward with obvious nervousness. Your Majesty, Dravnak said with a formal bow. I apologize for any discomfort Princess Catherine experienced while in our custody. The Emperor studied Dravnak carefully. My daughter speaks well of you, Intelligence Officer. That is rare. She has excellent judgment of character. Thank you, Your Majesty, Dravnak replied. Intelligence Officer Dravnak asked thoughtful questions. Kate added. He suspected there was more to my story before anyone else did. Emperor Monroe nodded. Then perhaps Officer Dravnak should join our discussions. We will need insightful minds for what comes next. Sermil looked surprised but nodded his agreement. Of course, if that is your wish. Ambassador Zextil pushed forward. Your Majesty, as the official in charge of security in this sector, I should explain. Ambassador, the Emperor interrupted. You detained a diplomatic traveler without proper cause. Your explanation can wait until the formal session. His tone was polite but firm, and Zextil stepped back without further comment. The Emperor addressed the gathered council. For too long, humanity has hidden its true nature from the galactic community. We had our reasons, which will become clear. But recent events have forced us to accelerate our plans. He gestured, and one of his aides stepped forward, activating a holographic display in the center of the hall. A three-dimensional map of the galaxy appeared, with colored sections highlighting different territories. The blue regions represent known council space, the Emperor explained. The red regions show what you believe to be human territory. Several small red dots appeared near one spiral arm. And this, the Emperor continued, shows our actual territory. The map changed dramatically. Red spread across 3 spiral arms, covering hundreds of star systems. Gasps echoed through the hall as council members realized the true extent of human space. Impossible, one council member whispered, but not quietly enough. Not impossible, Emperor Monroe corrected. Simply hidden. For 120 years, the Monroe dynasty has guided humanity's expansion. We maintained the illusion of a divided species to avoid being seen as a threat while we built our strength. But why? Sermil asked. The council promotes peace and cooperation. The Emperor's expression hardened slightly. Does it? Your treatment of my daughter suggests otherwise. The council promotes peace among those it respects and controls those it does not. Several council members shifted uncomfortably. But that is not why we hid, the Emperor continued. We concealed our true strength because of what lies beyond the galactic rim. The holographic map zoomed out further, showing dark areas at the edge of the galaxy. Red warning symbols flashed in these regions. There are threats approaching that the Council is not prepared to face, the Emperor said gravely. Humanity has been standing guard while developing our civilization. We fought battles you know nothing about, protected worlds that don't know we exist. A shocked silence fell over the hall. This is why Catherine's mission was so important, the Emperor continued. We needed to know if the Council was ready to face the truth, if you were ready to be true allies rather than condescending overseers. He looked at his daughter. Based on her treatment, I'm not convinced you are. But circumstances leave us little choice. The threat approaches faster than anticipated. Admiral Hayes stepped forward. The first incursions could begin within 5 years. We've been fighting scouts and advance forces for decades. Kate watched the council members as they absorbed this information. Some looked skeptical, others frightened. Dravnak alone seemed thoughtful rather than shocked. We will discuss all of this in detail during our formal session, the Emperor concluded. For now, I suggest we move to the council chamber. There is much to explain, and limited time to prepare. As the Emperor and council leaders moved toward the exit, Kate fell into step beside Dravnak. You don't seem as surprised as the others, she observed. Dravnak's skin patterns shifted slowly. I've studied ancient council records for years. There are gaps, events that don't make sense, unexplained disappearances of frontier outposts. Kate nodded. Those gaps have explanations. You may be more prepared for the truth than most. I hope so, Princess, Dravnak replied quietly, because I suspect the truth is even more frightening than the Emperor has revealed. Kate didn't answer, but her silence was confirmation enough. 6 months had passed since the day Emperor Monroe revealed the truth to the Galactic Council. Nexus Prime Station looked different now. Human engineers had helped upgrade its systems, and human ships regularly docked alongside alien vessels. The once clear boundaries between Council and human space had blurred as cooperation slowly replaced suspicion. Kate stood by a large viewport in her new office, watching ships come and go. As the official human ambassador to the Council, she now had permanent quarters on the station. Her simple room had been replaced by a spacious suite, though she had insisted on keeping the decoration minimal. Princess Catherine, a voice called from the doorway. The council session will begin in 15 minutes. Kate turned to see Dravnak. In the months since her revelation, the blue-skinned intelligence officer had been promoted to chief liaison between the council and human forces. His position had been created specifically to bridge the gap between the two powers. Thank you, Dravnak. And please, when we're not in formal settings, just call me Kate. Dravnak's skin patterns rippled, and what Kate had learned was an expression of amusement. Old habits, Pry. Kate. They walked together through the corridors of the diplomatic section. Council members and staff nodded respectfully as they passed. The change in attitude was remarkable. Where once humans had been barely tolerated, they were now treated with careful respect, even admiration by some. The training programs are proceeding well, Dravnak reported as they walked. 7 council species have completed the first phase of preparation. Kate nodded. Good. My father believes we have less than 4 years now. Every trained crew matters. They reached the council chamber and entered. The room had been expanded to accommodate human representatives. New technology filled the walls, holographic displays showing deep space monitoring systems that tracked the approaching threat. Council members were already seated. Admiral Hayes stood near the speaker's platform, talking quietly with head counselor Sarah Meal. Their working relationship had improved significantly in recent months. Kate took her place at the human delegation table. The chamber quieted as Sarah Meal called the session to order. Today marks 6 months since what historians now call the Monroe Revelation, Sarah Meal began. We continue our preparations against the threat beyond our borders. Ambassador Monroe will provide the human update. Kate stood and moved to the central platform. She activated the main display, showing a 3-dimensional map of defensive positions along the galaxy's edge. Human long-range sensors have detected increased activity in the void between galaxies, she reported. We've intercepted and eliminated 3 scout ships in the past month. Their technology continues to advance. She showed images of the destroyed enemy vessels. Strange, asymmetrical ships that seemed to absorb light rather than reflect it. Their surfaces were covered with odd, organic-looking growths. What we call the Void Collective is not a single species, Kate continued. They are a fusion of biological and mechanical life forms that assimilate other species they encounter. They consume resources and life, leaving nothing behind. They've destroyed 2 galaxies before reaching ours. A council member raised a hand. Ambassador Monroe, how did humans learn of this threat when the council remained unaware for so long? 200 years ago, a human deep space mission encountered one of their scout ships, Kate explained. Our scientists recovered enough technology to understand what was coming. That discovery led to the unification of Earth under the Monroe dynasty. Every resource was directed toward preparation. She changed the display to show the defensive line. Thousands of human ships and bases positioned at strategic points. For generations, we've been fighting their advance forces, keeping them from establishing footholds. But now they're sending larger ships, more resources. The full invasion approaches. The chamber was silent as the council absorbed this information. Kate could see fear in many eyes, but also determination. Ambassador, Zextil spoke up, his tone respectful, where once it had been dismissive. The council fleet is at your disposal. Our shipyards are producing vessels to your specifications. Kate nodded. Thank you, Ambassador. The combined fleet will be stronger than either of us alone. After the session ended, Kate returned to her office with Dravnak. A secure communication was waiting, a private channel from Earth. Would you excuse me, she asked. Dravnak nodded and stepped outside. Kate activated the channel and her father's image appeared. Catherine, Emperor Monroe said warmly. How are the council preparations proceeding? Better than expected, Father, she replied. The shock has worn off and most species are working diligently. Dravnak has been invaluable. The Emperor nodded. Good. Your assessment of him was correct. The council needs people who can adapt to new realities. And our own preparations? Kate asked. The home fleets are at full strength. The Jupiter shipyards have completed the new dreadnoughts. We're as ready as we can be. He paused. The scientists believe we can win this, Catherine. It won't be easy, but together with the Council we have a chance. Kate smiled slightly. That was always the plan, wasn't it? Force cooperation through necessity. I had hoped for a more gradual approach, her father admitted. Your detention accelerated our timeline, but perhaps that's for the best. The threat advances faster than predicted. After the call ended, Kate returned to the viewport. She looked out at the stars, thinking about the journey that had brought her here. Her detention had been partly planned. She had allowed herself to be captured to test the Council's attitudes and procedures. But the timing of the revelation had been forced by the accelerating threat. Dravnak joined her at the viewport. A credit for your thoughts, Kate? I was thinking about choices, she replied. 6 months ago I sat in a cell on this station. Now I'm helping coordinate the defense of the galaxy. Your detention may have been the best thing to happen to the Council, Dravnak said. Without it, we might have remained ignorant until it was too late. Kate nodded. Perhaps, but the real test is still coming. She looked at the latest reports on her data pad. Enemy movements, fleet positions, resource allocations. So much to do, so little time. Do you think we'll win? Dravnak asked quietly. Kate considered the question carefully. My father believes, so I want to believe it too, but either way, we'll face the threat together rather than alone. That gives us a better chance than either of us would have had separately. Beyond the viewport, a massive human dreadnought moved into position beside an equally impressive Council battleship. Different designs, different species, but now with a common purpose. We detained a princess and gained an alliance, Dravnak observed. Perhaps the universe has a sense of humor after all. Kate smiled. Perhaps it does. But let's make sure we're all still here to appreciate it when this is over. Her communication device chimed. Another alert, another report, another step. In the endless preparation, the woman who had once been a prisoner on this station was now one of its most important defenders. The galaxy's future might depend on it,